record. Okay, so what we plan to do is we are creating a simple application like adding a student or getting all the students or getting a specific student, or simply we're going to try a REST API application which will do get, post, update, and delete everything. Okay. So in order to do that, we are going to use the IntelliJ IDE, and I'm going to use the IntelliJ idea to create a project. You remember yesterday we used Spring IO initializer to download the project and add it into our Eclipse. So into our IntelliJ. But what you can do is you can go to IntelliJ settings, plugins, and there you can search for Spring, and you can find a lot of add-ons here, or you can find a lot of plugins here. So the one I used is Spring Initializer, which will automatically create the project for us. So what we don't need to do is we don't have to go to the Spring IO website and choose the dependency and then download that. So now what we're gonna do is create a new project. And let's say I'm using Spring, I'm selecting the Spring devices here. And we are using Java 1.8. I'm using default start.spring.io. This is the same website where we go to download the project. Remember, yesterday we tried that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to click next. And remember here, we have to create the artifact. It's the Maven project. It's a com.student application. Student.management. Okay, so artifact ID is student service, student-service. And Java, and we're going to use the Java 8 version, and project name is student application. So whatever the information you're feeding here, it will be available in the pom.xml. Okay, so project for student management system or management application. And my package, default package name is going to be the same as my artifact. Control C. This will automatically create a Java package in our project itself. Okay. So now we provided the project information, and next we need to provide the dependency. What are the dependency which you are looking for? So for now, I need the a web. So I'm using Spring Web. Maybe we can use the JP as well, since we are going to use the Spring Data JPA. And then what else we need? For now, we don't need anything. For now, let's click next. And student service, desktop projects. Let's change the location somewhere where it is really make it meaningful. So I'm gonna make it as a student. I don't know this one here. IntelliJ projects. IntelliJ projects. Okay. So this is the location where we're gonna keep all our student projects. And click finish. And that the project will be getting downloaded. So okay. Oh my god, it's named as IntelliJ project itself.
Okay.
Module, and let me try to modify that one. Okay, so let me see whether rename. Okay, so student application. Okay, so now we have the student application test here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now if you expand the src file, you can see Java com.student.management where we have student application. Okay, so if you run this, what is happening here? Okay, sometimes you're getting the problem here. So you need to add a Maven dependency here. So normally whenever the project is getting downloaded, just give it some time. It will get the Maven and other things.
Okay.
Student application, lifestyle, clean. Okay, so let me try install as well. So it will download all the necessary dependency jar files. Okay, see the errors is gone now.
Done now. Yes.
So what is happening here? I think I made a mess while recreating the project. So what I'm gonna simply do is I'm gonna simply delete this project and create it one more time just to avoid, because I kind of messed up the name. So that is causing some issue.
Right.
So I'm gonna delete this. So I'm gonna create file new project and 1.8 next form.student application. Application. Student service demo application. Application, the version we're gonna use is 8. So com dot student next, and we're gonna use the web Spring Web and JPA string data JPA. And next, and finish. Where exactly is creating a project? Oh, that's wrong.
What happened?
No, when I'm trying, again, I'm trying to create a new application, right? It is trying to add inside the existing project itself. So
Was it?
we don't want, because it's already
close this
and I'm going to remove this. Remove recent project, and I'm going to renew project. Version. Next, and the dependency web and the JPA. JPA is for performing the database operations. Okay, so now we have student. Okay, student service. Let me expand main Java student service application. So now we don't have any problem at all. We don't see any compilation issues. And now our basic application is up and running. Okay, so we can simply run this, and we should be able to see the applications up and running in the console. So the core project is done now. Okay, so next thing is we have to check the database and create the tables and all.
Yes.
So what it is saying, like, so URL attribute is not specified in the NOEM. Okay, so the problem here is, you remember we used the JPA entities here. JPA means which will trying to connect the database. Okay, so you're saying like you are using something which is trying to connect to the database, but you don't have any information about the database. Okay.
Got it. Yes. Yeah.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going back to my screen, and I'm going to go to HTTP localhost and PHP my admin. Let's see, you have the table name called the shopping database, and I have some table. We don't have any. Okay, we have already a table called student here. Okay, so we can reuse the same table.
Okay.
Okay. So first name, last name, mobile, and email. So those are 5 different columns. So basically what we are trying to do, we are trying to retrieve all the information from this table. And I do have the GitHub project as well, where we have the database information. Can you see something here? Spring data source URL and the Spring data source username. So this is a URL it's trying to refer. Okay, and since here, if you see that, I'm trying to connect to the cloud database. You see Amazon AWS.
Yes.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to connect to that one. But anyway, we don't
Okay.
need that. Okay, so the database information and other information will supposed to be provided in this application properties. We don't want to use the 8080 because 8080 is used by the my database.
Right.
So server dot what you remember this yesterday?
Yes. Yes.
081 and then let's add these things. So here jdbc.mysql and here I'm gonna use localhost.
Okay.
And the database we are going to use here is that, yeah, shopping database. And the username is going to be root and there is no password for that. Okay. So now we are just bringing the platform ready for the development activities.
Okay.
So once your service is able to up and run, then only we should be able to do something, right?
Yeah.
So now it is giving another error. So fail to instantiate. So what is happening here? Error creating bean with the name of data source. Application transfer.
Here, student.
Sorry.
Is that difference is student service application dot Java? It's file name, right? It's nothing. STP.
That is nothing actually. So
Correct.
now what is happening here is finished JP data repository. Okay, starting service. Tomcat when it is trying to connect, failed to load the. Oh, okay. See, if you are trying to connect JPA, we need the.
Okay.
We need this MySQL because we are trying to connect to the MySQL database and we don't have the MySQL connection details information in our project, right? So let's go back to the same level. This is application where I copied the informations, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here itself, what we can do is, let me add this as a login level. So if you add the login level as debug, it will give you some additional information about the error messages.
Okay.
And then now what we're gonna do is, let's go back to employee service. And if you open the form.xml, you should be able to see the MySQL part as well. Do you see the MySQL here?
Yes.
As we are trying to connect the MySQL database. We need to add this to our form.xml. So I'm gonna do that now. And dependency, and I'm adding one more dependency here. Okay, so whenever we do that, we have to do the build again.
And there is no rule, right? Like dependencies must be in order, right?
No, that is not. There is no need.
Okay.
Okay, so now it's getting the build. Now it's trying to download the dependency files from the Artifactory. Now it is trying to connect to the Maven Artifactory. But if you're working on any specific company, they have their own Artifactory. So you have to download the file from there.
Okay.
So the build is success, which means our jar file has been downloaded successfully. Let's try to run it again and we'll see. It's not like it's gonna run straight away. It might end up with some other issues also.
Right.
Okay, so that is why we are doing all the debugging. Okay, so now we got some other error and let's go back and see what's wrong here. Do you see now there are too many informations right now? Initially, it doesn't show you a lot of information because I just enabled the debug operation here.
Yeah.
In the application, I enabled the Spring Framework has to learn in the debug mode. So debug mode, which will give you a lot of information.
Oh,
So now let's go down and see what we are doing right now here. See what went wrong. So till now we are okay, and conditional classes, which is fine. This is where the first problem. Error creating B name data source to better define the path. Okay. So that's not the exact error message. Data source failed to instantiate data source or no exception. So there must be multiple reasons. Okay, the way how the files will be, a project will be downloaded from spring.io, and the way how we are using from the IntelliJ IDE, it might be different. Okay.
yes.
So first of all, what we need to do is let's open the POM file, and what we used for Spring Boot Starter JPA. When we have a Spring Boot Starter JPA, it should support our JPA entity. And if something is wrong, because it's trying to connect to the database only, we are getting the problem, right?
Yes.
So now let's go back to our existing project and see what we are doing different here. So we have Spring Starter, and see, we have the same Spring Boot Starter JPA. We have the same thing here. So is there anything else we are missing here? So validation, Spring Boot Starter. Yeah, everything looks good here.
Yeah.
So we needed a JPA and we have it, and we needed a MySQL connector and we do have it.
Yes.
Okay, so there is no issue with the dependency. Okay, so now let's go back and see, this is how we need to fix the error. So creating a breakpoint and creating the error means now you don't know what to do. So now what we're gonna do, go back to the Google and then search for error message. Error creating mean. Now it will tell you what will be wrong. I have a Spring Boot application centered around this full approach. All configuration seems stable to the main controller. Okay. So what will be the error? Seems like MySQL cannot see. This is what we are trying to do. We are trying to connect to MySQL. Okay.
Yeah.
So update. We do. Okay. So we did not specify the driver name. Okay. So we found one thing because we have the data. I think we do have the. Do we have the data source name over there? Do you remember?
No.
Yes, we don't.
Data source.
That might be another problem. Okay.
Right.
So now we just made a modification. Let's try to run it again. We'll see whether it will solve the issue. So now it says cannot load the driver com.mysql.jdbc driver. Let's go back and see. Okay, so this is the one which we missed. I think we used it.
This right?
We do have it, but we did not specify any version. Okay, let me check the difference.
Okay.
MySQL connector.java. Okay, so we don't have this. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
we modified something in the POM file, right? Then whenever you make a modification, make sure you do the Maven build once. So then only it will download the files from
Yes.
the repository. Okay, so now the build is success. Now let's go back and try to run the application. We'll see what's going to happen now. Illegal state of exception, cannot load the driver com.mysql.jdbc driver. Why it is not able to create? We do have the dependency and we do have that. dependency not found. Okay, what I can do is instead, if you're not sure what kind of version which we need to use, directly go to the browser and mysql connector.maven. It will give you direct link to the Maven repository. Let's use this one.
Okay.
And you can directly simply copy it from here. Control C and Spark and modify this. So it is done. But anyway, what I need to do is I just wanted to go to open in terminal. Do it one more time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are good here. Now let me try to run it again. Sometimes what will happen, you will add the dependency in the pom.xml, but it is trying to download the file. It does download the file, but it will not refer in the IDE. That does happen a lot of times. So I cannot load the driver. Okay. So now let's try to search this LLS. So we have the com.mysql. Okay, so we are getting the same error, remember? So cannot driver. And what could be the answer for it? If you're using Maven, add this into your pom.xml. I think we did that.
Yes.
If you're using legacy, okay, MySQL less than or is equal to 5.5, Java 7. Then, so we need to find out what is the MySQL version which I'm using it right now. And you don't need to use the following line. Okay, so it's deprecated. Okay, they're saying like it is deprecated. Okay. Bring down. Oh, I need to use the driver class name, fully qualified name for the JDBC.
We already have the driver class name, right?
No. If you see it, there's a difference. We see the driver class name and the driver hyphen class name here.
Yes.
That might be a problem also. But what I use in my project, I have to see. You're seeing like how long it is taking to set up the project itself.
Right.
Okay. So if you see, okay, so if you, in my previous example, I did not even use it at all.
Oh.
So in some blocks, they're saying like you need to use it and sometimes you don't need to use it at all. That's what they're saying. But anyway, we have to give it a try one more time.
Okay.
We made a changes and let's try it. And next, if you're still getting the error, what I'm going to do, we're going to comment that out and then we'll try. So even if we do that, also we're getting the same error. com.mysql failed to load the com.mysql. Okay, see the problem is it's trying to load this JDBC driver, but we haven't provided anything for that.
Oh.
Is the semicolon? Okay, what is that? But you know something, the fix will be pretty simple.
Yes.
So gives the error stated above the version Spring Boot error. The issue is for me was caused by the version of MySQL I add this version of Maven Dependency in my case of 8.0.25 that we tried already. So let's do one thing. I'm gonna keep this down to X. So now what I did is I commented everything which is related to the JPF stuff. So now let me run one more time. com.mysql. Okay, so that's just something is wrong with the ID, I guess. Okay, so we have to do the build again. We forgot that.
Okay.
Okay, now let's start again. Why it is still looking for MySQL this driver? Something is not right. Does it have anything related? We commented about the MySQL, JP commented, we have only web for now. Oh. Okay, something is not happening. It looks like some refresh process is not happening properly.
Yeah.
That is why I hate IntelliJ. I mean, we are getting used to for Eclipse for so long time.
Right.
So now let me run it again. Consider the application failed to start. URL attribute is not configured, whatever class. We don't do this. So now what I'm going to do is, so now we know something is happening here. So let's try the same in the Eclipse as well.
Okay.
So I'm going to create a new project here, new project, and Spring Starter project next. Okay, I'm going to keep everything as okay, student project. Okay, then next, and we're going to use the Spring Web and the Spring Data JPA. Maybe for now, let me use only the Spring Web. Next, finish. You see it is trying to download the application here. And now we have student application here. At the same time, we don't want that port number also, because our localhost is using that anyway. So now we don't have anything. All I'm doing is I just downloaded the application and I'm going to run it as a Java Spring Boot application. That's it. We'll see what's going to happen. See, now the application is started successfully.
Yes.
Student application. Okay, so initially what we did is we tried to add the web application as well as the student application to, not the student application, the JPA, both of them together, and it caused some issues. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add them manually anyway now. So we know what is the dependency needs to be added. It is already there in our form.xml in our old file. So this is the one which we needed for JPA. Okay. So let's copy that, and I will go back, and I'm going to add this here. And once we did that, we have to do Maven update project. And we added the data JPA. It might be expecting the URL now. So if you run it again, we will know what's going to happen. Right click and run as Spring Boot app. Now it is a valid error. What it is saying, like you're added some database dependency in the form. So you need to provide the URL, which means our database information. Okay. So we'll go back to our list, and then let's copy the same here. Additional properties, right? So instead of this, we're gonna use the local host, and our database is gonna be shopping database. And save it, and let's try it again one more time. Refresh and run a minute. Run as student application. Okay, so com.mysql.cdbc. Okay. You remember we see this pretty much the same error.
Yes.
So now we need a driver support. So what I'm gonna do, we are going to pom.xml, and then let's add the dependency for MySQL. You see, I just added the dependency one by one.
Yes.
So the order, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So Maven and update projects. Okay. And then let's run it. Okay, so you see now the application is started in 1.988 seconds. The application is up and running. So we did the same thing in the IntelliJ as well, right? That is not working. So now what I'm going to do is, we need to know why it is not working, right? So I'm going to add these dependencies. We'll see. We cannot just like that, we cannot leave it, okay? But we know that it is because of the IntelliJ ID issue, okay? So now let's try to read it from this, and then let me close it once and I'll open it again. It might resolve our issue.
Yeah.
So now we don't have anything, we have only web, right? So let me run it as a student size application. It is not supposed to look for any URL or any database information now. Do you see what happened now?
Right.
It is working.
Right.
It's all, that is, I remember I was talking about, it's pretty much because of the refresh issue.
Yes.
Now I added the JPA and as well as the Java, right?
Yes.
So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh it one more time. Reload from disk. And more importantly, I add to the Maven build.
Okay.
See, we have been spending literally 40 minutes to see what is wrong, and there is nothing wrong on it.
Right.
Okay. The individual test results. Okay, failed executable full Apache. Okay, fine. Anyway. So now let's try to run our application again. See, the application is up and running. Stop it. And we are going to run it again. Is it working now?
Yeah.
So what we did wrong? Nothing.
Yeah.
Now you know why people are not going for IntelliJ. But IntelliJ is a really good IDE. Okay, but it has its own issues. That's it. But even Eclipse, it took a hell lot of time to getting stable. Okay, So obviously it happens. So now we know that it is working. So now we need to make sure whether the service is working correct or wrong. Okay, so I'm going to add some test controller here. So I'm going to create a new package like saying like a controller, and I'm going to create a new class under test controller. We already know how to create that, so I'm gonna do that much faster now.
Yes.
And I'm going to have at get mapping, and it's going to be welcome. So click, say hi, return, hello, welcome. Yeah. Implementation. Okay, so now we have a simple REST API. So let's stop it and run it again. So let's go back to browser and we'll try, it's a GET application, right? So we can directly try HTTP. '8081, right?
Yes.
8081, welcome.
Welcome.
See, hello, welcome to HTTP implementation. So everything works perfectly. The service is up and running. We are able to create something. Okay. So now what we need to do is we have to create, we need to communicate to the database, right?
Okay.
So we have to create a DTO which holds the student information. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the structure today. We'll see the implementation tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So here under the student, I'm going to create another package called the model, which contains all the classes stud into student. So here I have, okay, let's go back and see how many the columns are available. So IDE, first name, last name, and mobile name, right?
Yeah.
So first IDE is auto increment. We don't need to do anything. So first, okay, so private string name. So let's go back to here and copy the second one, Control C. It's the last name, Control V, and
mobile
and email. So mobile is an integer. So whenever you create anything, the first thing which we need to do is create the getters and setters. Select all, click OK. So now we have a student which will work as an intermediate, but this is just a DTO. Okay, but what we need to do is we have to connect this into a database. So whenever it is, if the information is coming from client, it considers a normal DTO. When it is trying to communicate to the database, it acts as a database. Okay, so we have to modify this as an entity. Okay, so here we are going to use the annotation entity.
Okay.
Entity or let me check that. It's been a while. Employee. Okay. Employee. Okay, so we need to annotate with the entity. So entity, which is nothing but which will comes from Java extract persistence. Okay, so add entity. But you don't see the entities here, right?
Entity, right? Yes.
So for the problem is it is available in Java X persistence. which means we have to go back to our form.xml and we have to add the dependency also.
Yeah.
So let's see what is the relevant information here. Boot starter, Spring, activator, entity, boot starter, true. But actually we have the JPU, it automatically has to pull it. Normally you don't need to provide this, but since it's not able to getting the, but
Yeah,
if I go and do the same thing in the Eclipse now, that will
work, right.
So, but we cannot move back and forth. So I'm going to add it right away here. So whenever we add something here, all we need to do is let's do ambient clean build. So now what happened? It is trying to download the Java persistent.to API here.
Yeah.
If you open your project now, you will have some idea. Okay, so this we have seen it and other things. We have seen this kind of information in our table.
Okay.
Failure, errors. What is the error here? Failed to load the application. Error creating bean in the name. Ah, come on. You know what is happening here? I'm going to stop it again and close it again. And we're going to use the student service again.
Yeah.
This is why I hate this idea. Okay, so let's run it again. And now let's go back to student. All we need an entity, right?
Yeah.
Application failed to start. If you want embedded database, URL attribute not specified. Come on, we have been.
Right, previously we got this.
Yeah. Now we got the entity here.
Now we got entity, yes.
Hey, is it okay if you can go ahead and use the Eclipse?
Yeah, sure, Arun. Yes.
I don't, because it's taking a lot of time for us.
Yes.
I don't want to waste the time. You're gonna miss the Eclipse ID.
Eclipse, right.
But IntelliJ also is a good one. It's not bad actually.
Yes, but we are using Java 8, so we cannot use the Eclipse for Java 8, right?
No, Java 8 you can use the Eclipse. Java after 10 only you cannot use.
Oh, okay.
So now this is
right.
Student application, and I'm going to the main and application. I'm going to create a new class here. Student. And I just copy the content from there. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add. See, I did not do anything. Now it is coming. That is the problem. Okay, so which means entity, which is telling the compiler saying like this class I can use as a database object also. So whenever you do something to the first name, it will impact the first name in your database. Okay, something like that. So here on at the same time, you can provide a table as well. So when you touch this, you need to tell which table it's going to be impacted. It's going to be impacted the student, right?
Yeah.
Table. And here you can specify that this is a column in my table. And the name is equal. We used pretty much the same name, right? So I can do this. Let's see. And then you might feel like, wow, he's doing so many things, but actually I did not do anything at all. It is just a very basic setup. Okay. So now what happened when you're trying to get some information from this table, when you're trying to access student, it will try to take the data from the student database. So when you do some select star from student, you can do the select star from the student here. The object also, we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, but for accessing database, we need to add something like called as a repository.
Okay.
Okay, 1 second. Why it is constant application model? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, this is the model. So at the same time, we need something like repository as well. I'll tell you the purpose of the repository. I'm gonna create a new class here, student, etc. So student repository, and it's going to be interface. TPA is for extents. Repository. So student repository extends TPA repository. And here. And this is going to be student. Okay, so now what we can do is, using the student repository, we can call some predefined methods. You don't see any methods here, but inside the student repository, you'll have a lot of methods. I'm not going to explain right now. I'm going to simply do it, and I'll tell you what is the outcome, and then I'll tell you how it is working. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do, let me create a controller here. Student controller. And not under the model, the controller. Okay, so this is going to be our REST controller. Remember the one which we tried?
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry. Controller. And I'm going to write a method here.
Yes.
Public. And it is going to be written list of students. And get all students. So whenever I call this, for now, I'm going to add return null for now. So the resource we're going to use is going to get mapping. Right?
Yes.
Mapping and all students. So now what happened? I had to provide something here at the wire. Student repository is equal to repo. So now what I'm gonna do is repo dot find all. Find all. We did something wrong in the repository. 1 second. So student repository, it is okay. Student and integer. So here, repo dot find all. So now what happened? So you might be thinking, where is the find all method is coming from? It is a predefined method. And which table is going to communicate? That information. That information we don't know. So, but it is based on the repository. Repository, I'm using student as my object, student object. So this will communicate to the student database table. And this is a primary key for the table. Okay. So now let's say I'm not going to do anything. Just a simple thing. Let's save everything and I'm going to run it and we'll see what's going to happen. So no identifier specified at the entity. No identifier. Okay, so we did mention the identifier. So what is wrong here? So com.model.student. Okay. We did identify student as an entity. And it's a student. Okay, we missed one field, right? You remember? Private.
Okay, right. Yes.
Int ID. And you need to specify that is the ID column.
Okay.
So at column name is equal to ID. Comma.
But that ID is automatically will create it, right?
You don't need to assign anything, but every database entity must tell what is the primary key for it. So now let's try it again. Okay, that's it. Huh? Now we can see the another reference. See, the problem is I have the student or Java object, which will communicate to the database object. But we need to know what is the primary key. If you don't know the primary key, the entity will not work. So the method which you're going to call now, it's a student controller, all students. Okay, let's go back to our browser and then let's try, instead of welcome, we'll try all students. And okay, so the port we are using 8080, right? Not 8181. 8080, remember?
Oh, yes, it's it. Yeah.
See what happened? First name,
Right.
all the information will come in. So in case if you're trying the same from Postman, right, you will have some proper information in it.
Right.
Let me try that as well. So if you know that how it is communicating with the database, then everything else is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to use the get method and send. See, now we got the all the student information. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is tomorrow we're going to write a method to fetch only the specific student and updating a student and deleting a student. We'll try all of them.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
just keep this in your mind. Okay. So tomorrow, and let's continue use the Eclipse. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. See you tomorrow then.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.